Hello friends, welcome back. I'm back with the second part of classification based predictive modeling. In the first part, we understood the advanced analytics journey path, most used techniques to create advanced analytics model, how predictive model work at training and deployed state. We discussed questions and answers around this for better understanding. Now let us move to the second part where we will get into modeling steps, data integration, data sampling, defining the scope of predictive model. Let us understand these steps. You can see on my screen there are 7 steps. So the first step is project design. So it involves defining problem statement like employee attrition is high, that's a problem. Telecalling team is coming back with a very low conversion, so that's a problem. And also defining acceptance criteria, at least 80% accuracy is required to take action and be viable. Confirming data requirement and availability, here we need to know what data would be required, whether these data is available in a structured form. Choose tools and techniques, model deployment plan. So this is all for project design approach where we need discussion with the business team and understand what we are going to do. Once we define what we are going to do, then comes data. Data sampling is very important in a case of very large data set. For example, in a telecom company, suppose there are 10 crore subscribers and each subscriber is making 5 calls a day, and in case we need to explore calling pattern, so that multiplies. So with this huge data it would be very difficult to create model, do exploratory analysis, etc. So we use sampling techniques, and samples are to study and understand the predictability of the model. So moving next, data exploration. Data exploration is analyzing the data quality and behavior, identifying trend and anomalies like blank, errors, etc. Looking at the range, for example, age should not exceed 100 years, height should not exceed 6 feet or 7 feet, date in a desired range, and there is no formatting issue. This is to ensure data type is in sync, like numbers, string, etc. So data exploration is to understand the data behavior, and in case there is any anomaly that needs to be corrected before moving ahead to the next step. So moving to the next step is data transformation. Data transformation is nothing but converting the raw data into a usable form. We do some data cleaning activity also. Uh, we do converting data types and also raw data into usable information like transaction data to history data. Moving next, model development. So till now we complete 80% of the job. 80% of the entire time goes into project design, data sampling, data exploration, and data transformation. Once this is done, we get into model development, and this is the most exciting part. So here we apply different modeling techniques and select the final methodology. Then comes model assessment. Model assessment we will discuss in detail also this part. Model assessment is looking at a model performance at a different interval and trying to select the most stable algorithm. Uh, the last part is model deployment. Here we finalize the ETL to extract, transform and load required variables for different sources as model input. And this deployment should be automated. We should always avoid manual modeling because manual task invites a lot of error. So now we are moving to the next step, data source integration. Ideally, a model should be able to integrate with source system data lying at different locations and convert into ABT. ABT is nothing but analytical base table. Analytical base table has target variable, so that model can be built by associating the independent variables with target variable. When a model is deployed, then it would not need the target variable. It would need only selected significance variable to generate a score against the target variable. So let us understand this with example. Suppose we want to build an employee attrition predictive model. This requires data from daily attendance system, which is suppose on the cloud. This also requires employee profile, which should be in HRMS system that could be on premise. There might be some employee survey data which might be with the survey company or lying with Excel in a separate database or lying on a hard disk. So we need to integrate all these sources to create the ABT. Let us assume the first column is employee ID. So we have to summarize these details like average time spent in office, in number of hours, age, travel time, etc. And then my model will be able to associate with the target variable. Now in the picture, it is shown like there is a transaction level data at the cloud. There are aggregated level A data. Aggregated level A, suppose transaction level data converted into a weekly, then converted into monthly, and there is a master data that says all the active employee in the organization. Now we will understand this in next example. So here is the example. It has taken employee attrition model data as an example. Data given in below 5 different data sets. How to proceed with this data for building the model or building the ABT. So the first data set is employee profile that has employee ID, department, role, label, employees manager, create date is a joining date of employee, and education, marital status, training attended, etc. So this is one data set. The another data set is employee appraisal. It has employee ID, the year for which this appraisal has been done, the performance rating, percent hike, etc. Employee satisfaction survey, timesheet. We need to understand this timesheet is a daily affair. Every weekday, employee has to log in to the timesheet and submit, log out. AOP is how employee is doing as per the company's target. So let us understand how to integrate these data sets to create the ABT. So the first data set, employee profile, there is a single row against employee ID against each employee. So we need not transform or change here. Employee appraisal, so there will be multiple rows against employee ID because appraisal has to happen every year, and if employee is working since last 5 years, so there will be 5 rows against each employee. So we need to aggregate like number of appraisals, average rating, average hike, number of times promoted, etc, etc. Satisfaction survey, again multiple rows against each employee because every year there might be a satisfaction survey. Timesheet, there will be so many rows, so we need to aggregate with count of leaves, count of travel, count of late reporting, last month, last to last month, average 6 month, etc. And AOP would be for a 1 year, there will be a single row against each employee, so no change. Now, after we transform each and every data set, we can very easily join these tables. and now we will have ABT, where one column we will have employee ID and all the other columns we will have different information which could act as my independent variables. So moving next, let us understand data sampling. Sampling is done when data is very huge. We have discussed this. So most used sampling techniques are random sampling, where each sample has an equal probability of being chosen. Stratified sampling, this is a more accurate way of doing a sampling, where we will divide the population into separate group called strata. The random sample is drawn from each group. So for example, if a population is from a country, then each city can be taken as a strata, and from each city we are going to take random sampling. So this is also called sometimes stratified random sampling, which is most used. uh, Next is clustered sampling. We can create analytical clustering using k-means to draw unique behavior, and random sample is drawn from each cluster. So these are certain commonly used techniques. There are more techniques as well, but we will know and move ahead with this as a basic understanding. Now let us move to an example question and answer. So this is for our better understanding. A telecom operator has 200 million subscribers. The columns of the datasets are as below. Please suggest how you take out sample to build the model. So we have mobile number, circle. Circle is just a geography. If a country has been divided into 23 circles in case of India, so these are different geography. Value, high value, mid value, low value, handset type, basic, feature, smartphone. Nowadays almost all are on a smartphone. However, usage type, voice heavy, data heavy, both. Data usage last month, last to last month, voice usage last month, last to last month, value added service revenue, roaming minutes, operator to operator minutes. Operator to operator minutes is like suppose Airtel is one operator, to Airtel these many minutes, Airtel to Geo there could be some other value. ISD is long distance call, STD is domestic call, local within the circles. So let us understand how to create sample out of this data set. So we are going to create a strata first based out of circles. So we are taking geography into the picture, then the customer value. So we are ensuring that high value customer, mid value customer, low value customer has the equal opportunity to be into the population. And then handset type, so all handset type customers should come into the strata, and usage type, voice heavy, data heavy, both. So with these four clusters we are actually creating the total strata 621, and if we take 10% random sample from all these 621 buckets or all these 621 strata, so we are going to get a true representation of the 200 million subscribers. Here, if I create a model using 10% of 200 million subscriber, so actually my model will work out a similar way for the 200 million subscriber. So this is how the sample technique works. So friends, now let us understand how to do scoping of a model. So on the screen there is an example of a model which is to predict who will purchase the AMC. So suppose the product is uh, water purifier, and water purifier company would like to understand which all my customers has a higher probability to purchase the AMC, which has a lower, so that they can put some focus on the lower probability customers and improve the purchase of AMC. Here, while we are going to build model, so we need to ensure where this model should put its focus. So as you see, we have defined the in scope. In scope is the customers whose AMC has expired during last 30 days, customers whose AMC is due to expire in next 30 days. So here we want to say that we should focus only on the customer set whose AMC has recently expired, or in a very near future, next 30 days, whose AMC is going to expire. So this customer only I will focus and generate the probability score, so that companies, executives and FOS should only put focus on these customers, because the customers who are already enjoying AMC and who are going to enjoy AMC for next 7 8 months or 9 10 11 months, so for those the model should not bother. So here the outscope would be customer who are enjoying MC period and expiry is due after more than 30 days, and the customers who MC has been expired since more than 30 days. So they have made up mind that they are not going ahead with AMC, and probably they might have purchased a different product. So now let us understand this with the example question and answer. So you have 5 data sets of employee of an organization. The history available for this data is for last 10 years. So how to set up the scope of this model? Now the problem statement of a model is employee attrition model. So company wants to know which all employee are showing early symptoms to get into attrition, or if they want to take some action to retain its employee. So we have discussed these data sets, so now easy to understand. Employee profile, employee appraisal, satisfaction survey, timesheet, AOP, etc. So now if we have to create a model, so how the scoping should be done? So here is an answer to that. So employee who have spent at least 18 months in the organization, this makes sense because 1 to 2 years actually employee data required to study the pattern before any employee leaves. Employee who have received above average rating makes sense. Non-performing employee leaving company should not put efforts to retain them. So this model should focus upon above average employee. Out of scope, so less than 18 months, employee with average or below average rating, off role employees obviously. So this is how we can set up the scope of a model, so that model output can be utilized in a better manner to help the business. So friend, this is end of part 2, and I will very soon come up with part 3. So these 3 parts will cover the basic understanding of building a classification based predictive model.